love's a beautiful thing. It grows to the quiver of a fife that sings. I can take it with the wave of my hand and place it upon my music stand. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I especially want to give a thank you to those people who are now watching one of the prepared videos on one of our many video platforms. All of my videos are put not only on YouTube, but also on BitChute and also on Rumble. So please subscribe to whatever platform you are watching this on, and please leave a comment. Love to read those comments, and I frequently reply. So please subscribe and leave a comment. Okay, it is 4th of July weekend. Today is July 7th. Thursday was the 4th of July. And 4th of July is, of course, the day when we in the United States of America celebrate the birthday, the official birthday of the United States of America. And of course, what we are commemorating is the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, which means that the USA was 248 years old on Thursday. And I was guided to give, I hope, an upbeat talk about freedom and about the USA because I feel the USA needs a little healing right now. Since the debate 10 days ago, there's been for many people a dark pale across the country. And I understand and I acknowledge that. But I also want to shed the light and be part of the healing of that because I love my country. I really do love my country. I can say that unabashedly and proudly. I love the United States of America. I love that I live here. This has actually become kind of a controversial thing to say, that it's too much nationalism in some people's minds. And we need to have a more global perspective, as some people would say. And I understand that, but I don't share that view because I just share what I feel. Years ago, I looked up the definition of love in the dictionary, and I was expecting a rather complex definition of love because love's a complex thing. But actually, it was a fairly simple definition. It was 6 words. It was a profoundly tender and passionate affection. And that's exactly how I feel about the United States of America, the country that I live in. I have a profoundly tender and passionate affection for the United States of America. As you can see, I have a big flag pin that I am wearing. I've been wearing this pin for about a year now. I really love this pin. I was also really happy at the debate to see both President Biden and President Trump also had a flag pin on. And the one thing I want you to know, mine's bigger than theirs. Okay? Okay. I got this pin last year when Deuce Althea and I and other family members went to Mount Rushmore. Again, a wonderful patriotic place to go. I really recommend that every citizen of the United States of America, once in their lifetime, go to Mount Rushmore. Spend a whole day there. Go in the summer months when they have this lighting ceremony at the end of the day. It was really inspirational. There's enough to spend a whole day there and do, and there's places to eat there. It's really, really lovely. I really had a great time. Okay, as I said, the debate has put a number of people in a dark mood, and I am going to try to shed a little light on that. But let's understand that identifying darkness is not necessarily a bad thing. This is in Miracles Principle number 22. So get that this is very early in the course. This is, there's 50 miracles principles. The first thing the course has, this is in miracle principle number 22. It says the escape from darkness involves two stages. A, the recognition that darkness cannot hide. This step usually entails fear. B, the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. This step brings escape from fear. So maybe the debate 10 days ago revealed some things that were hidden to some people's observation and that made people a little fearful. Well, that's the first step. But the escape from fear is recognizing there's nothing you would want to hide, even if you could, which you can't. And that's what brings escape from fear. So I really choose to see everything as part of the escape from fear. And it's actually a good thing. We should be rejoicing that hidden things have now been exposed because it's part of the healing of them for everybody concerned, and certainly for the country as well. 4th of July, the United States of America. The USA stands for freedom. The United States of America's flag, which I have one right here, stands for freedom. And it stands for freedom not just in the United States of America, but it stands for freedom all over the world. There's a narrative right now that the flag is controversial. I've been told that, it's controversial that nobody, well, I haven't seen any flags waving from anybody's home in San Francisco, that's for sure. I know I could talk to my sister Sarah later, probably in upstate New York, or Paula in Florida. Probably in those states you see flags. You see very few flags for anybody here in San Francisco, and it would be considered controversial, which I think is such a kind of strange and silly thing, actually. What could possibly be controversial, really, about freedom and about the flag? There's even a narrative right now that says that people who are for freedom are actually stupid. This is a really interesting thing. Isn't it kind of sad? Some people say you're for freedom, D-U-M-B, freedom. Don't be free dumb. People said that during the pandemic as certain freedoms were taken away from people. That really champion freedom meant you were free dumb. Well, I challenge that. When people say, it's not about freedom, well, yes, it is. It is about freedom. And the flag stands for freedom, and the flag stands for freedom all over the world. Think for a minute. Who would want us not to embrace freedom? Who would not want people of the United States of America to feel good about their country and their flag? Well, it would be the totalitarians. It would be the communists. It would be those communist influences in maybe other countries who are waging a type of psychological warfare against the American people. Don't think that's not happening. It is happening. People worry about military warfare with these other countries. Not probably going to be military. It's going to be psychological warfare. And when you buy into an idea that the flag is controversial, or that freedom is actually you being stupid, it's freedom. Well, that's a communist propaganda psychological operation. Think about it. Just let it sit there. That doesn't sit well with you, just let it sit there. Okay, I want to share an image with you here in the screen share. Okay, you see a whole bunch of people waving flags here. What I want you to know is these are not Americans. This is a flag waving demonstration that took place in Hong Kong, China in 1999, as Hong Kong was getting handed back to the communist Chinese government after many, many years of being free. And the people of Hong Kong were appealing to freedom and appealing to the United States of America to help them. Unfortunately, the United States of America was not really able to help them. There's some very interesting things about this picture that I want to point out. Over here, there's somebody holding up a flag and it says, "For the land of the free and the home of the brave." They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They were talking about freedom. I also think it's really interesting that these people are holding up the flag in reverse. They probably don't realize they're holding up the backside of the flag. The stars are on the wrong side. But another really interesting thing, I was talking to Reverend Peter about this morning, is everybody in all of these protest images of the people demonstrating in 1999 have masks on. And this was before the pandemic. This was in 1999. And Reverend Peter has some theories about that. Maybe he'll share them in the discussion. But this is just really obvious that the United States, standing for freedom and our flag being a positive image of freedom and a positive force against Chinese globalism, is really obvious. And so before maybe we take the idea that there's something wrong with the United States of America and there's something wrong with our flag and there's something wrong with our deals, realize the world over looks to the United States of America for freedom and for help in being free. And they certainly were doing it there in Hong Kong in 1999. There's lots of these images of these protesters holding flags. Okay. Uh, I've talked about this before, and some people get a little confused or don't understand it. But one of the reasons why I focus on freedom, first of all, is I've always really, really loved freedom. But one of the reasons why I focus on freedom is a key idea in A Course in Miracles. Freedom or free or some derivation of the word freedom appears 652 times in A Course in Miracles. That's huge. That's just about as many as the word forgive or forgiveness appears. So you hear a lot of people talk about forgiveness. If somebody wanted to sum up A Course in Miracles, or if somebody asked them what A Course in Miracles is about, they might mention forgiveness because, it is a key issue in A Course in Miracles. But very few people ever say anything about freedom and being free or identifying with freedom or expressing being free or freedom. 652 times it's talked about in A Course in Miracles. And also, you got to add that there's 32 times where it talks about slavery or slaves. And those are all just talking about freedom as well. I mean, it's talking about slavery as a negative thing that we have to overcome or work against. So that's just talking about freedom too. So that's 684 references to freedom and being against slavery. My favorite little freedom quote was in the reading that Reverend Paula read and read so beautifully. It's a really wonderful teaching. It's a very unique A Course in Miracles teaching, so you really should take it in. It says, "You have heard many arguments on behalf of the freedoms, which would have been freedom if man had not chosen to fight for them. Yet the argument that underlies the defense of freedom is perfectly valid. Because it is true, it should not be fought for, but it should be sided with." This is profound. This is deep. This is wonderful. We should not fight for freedom. If we fight for freedom, it's not freedom anymore. That's being against our brothers and sisters. But that doesn't mean that freedom is invaluable, and that doesn't mean that freedom is not the goal. Freedom is still very valuable, and freedom is still the goal, and we should always side with freedom, with our whole beings. And I feel that I have, to the best of my ability, always sided with freedom, and it is still my goal, and it is still my mission. And to those of you who've been with me for 38 years or almost 38 years, you know that my whole ministry, I've been talking about relationship freedom, sexual expression freedom, medical freedom, body autonomy freedom, the right to move around society freely. I've always championed those things, and I will still champion those things. Another thing I just want to interject that maybe you hadn't thought of, since freedom is so important in A Course in Miracles, and freedom is the energy of the United States of America, known world over, as you just saw by those Hong Kong people waving the American flag. It isn't surprising that A Course in Miracles originated in the United States of America. And I embrace that. It seems perfectly appropriate to me. And I'm also going to do a shout out and a challenge to my colleague, A Course in Miracles teachers. I was going to run through some names, but I'm going to let that go. Uh, Start talking about freedom. I don't hear you talking about freedom. I hear you talking about forgiveness. I hear you talking about healing a little bit. Talk about freedom. 684 mentions. That's a lot of mentions. I love how the United States celebrates its birthday with fireworks. Did any of you watch fireworks on Thursday night? I did. I was on the comfort of my sofa in my home, but I turned on the local television station and I watched the fireworks. And they had the local fireworks, which looked fairly decent this year, a little bit hidden with fog, but not that much. And they also showed the fireworks from Washington, D.C., which were really amazing. And I love that we celebrate the birthday of the country with fireworks. We're rejoicing. You know, the word rejoice or rejoicing appears 53 times in A Course in Miracles. That's also a lot. Why are you not rejoicing? You are free. There's a free of pain and sickness, misery and loss, and all effects of hatred and attack. That's a real straightforward question. Why are we not exuberantly demonstrating the joy that we could be communicating about our healing? You know, our independence was the healing of the oppression of being a colony of the United Kingdom. So we heal that through our independence. And we celebrate that. We celebrate that loudly and boldly and joyfully with fireworks every year. But we should celebrate all healings. And why aren't we? We could be communicating all our healings with rejoicing and celebrating, and we tend not to. The word celebrate appears 23 times in A Course in Miracles. So rejoicing and celebrating, that's 76 references. Of course, innumerable references to joy, but more than just joy. Celebrating, rejoicing, exuberant demonstrations of that joy. We should be doing that. And if you're not, you should ask yourself why you're not. Course in Miracles says today we celebrate the happy ending to your long dream of disaster. There are no dark dreams now. The light has come. These are real celebratory ideas. And that's what the 4th of July is all about. It's about us celebrating freedom, but we could take in that celebration teaching. It's a wonderful demonstration of what we should be doing with all of our healing, all of our happy endings to dark dreams of disaster. They're healing. We should be celebrating. We should be exuberant. We should be loud. We should not hide our joy under a bushel, as they say. Make a loud and joyful noise to the Lord for all the world to hear. You know, I was thinking about that expression, for all the world to hear. And of course, it probably comes from for all the people in the world to hear. But I've often talked about, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that the world as a whole is actually us. It's actually our larger body. And I was thinking about that the world itself, the physicality of the world, can communicate and it can hear and it can communicate. It has ears. the physical world itself, not just the people. I remember that great line from the musical Jesus Christ Superstar, and Jesus is singing about the earth itself, and he says, the rocks and stones themselves will start to sing. So the world has a voice, the world has a mouth, the world has ears, the world can hear. Now make a joyful noise, celebrate and rejoice your healing. And fireworks are just about as loud and as bold as a celebration can get. They're not subtle. They're not subtle. They are a big, loud, exuberant celebration. When I was watching the fireworks on the local news channel on Thursday night, the commentator had some 4th of July facts that he was sharing with people. And he asked people, do you know when the first time fireworks were used to celebrate a 4th of July? And of course, I did not know that, but it was actually on the very first birthday of the 4th of July in 1777, when America was 1 year old, in Philadelphia, where the Declaration of Independence had been signed. They had fireworks to celebrate the year's birthday. So it's great that we celebrate our freedom from foreign rule every year, and that we celebrated it the very, very first year. So the larger message here, as I said, is be loud, be bold, celebrate as often and as exuberantly as you can. Celebrate your freedom from the rule of the body. That's what A Course in Miracles is really all about, isn't it? We are celebrating the awareness and that our bodies do not rule who we are. We have, through the Course, signed a Declaration of Independence. We are no longer ruled by the body. We are ruled by our spiritual identity. The body is a totalitarian rule. We don't want it. We've shed it. We have declared our independence from that. We are a spiritual identity. We are the Christ. We have embraced true freedom. And I'm going to continue to celebrate freedom. I don't care if it's politically incorrect. That's ridiculous. I'm going to keep celebrating it as loudly and as boldly as possible. And I'm going to make sure the world, not just the people in the world, but the physical world itself gets this exuberant message. So that's my talk for today. And of course, I will just end with saying, Happy birthday, America!
A flower is a beautiful thing. It grows to the quiver of a fife that sings. I can take it with the wave of my hand and place it upon my music stand. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. World is a marvelous show.